o'clock. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Do I have a motion to approve our agenda from our June 23rd, 2025 meeting?
Make a motion to approve minutes.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye? All right, I'm sorry, I said that wrong. You motioned to approve the agenda, or no, the minutes. I gotta get a motion to approve the agenda. That's kind of a new one for us, this agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All right. Got a message from Ian here. Let's see. Let me call him and get him on the line. Ian Wright, for those of you that may not know, is our consultant.
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Hey Ian, we're just getting the meeting called to order here.
Perfect.
So if you want to kind of give us a rundown on where we're at and where we stand, I know you're kind of in a hurry.
No, you're fine. We've got the hangar project is pretty much all wrapped up. We have final closeout information that's going to be transmitted over to the city soon to turn into MoDOT, and then we can officially check the box as that project is completed. But there is plenty of federal funding available allotted to the city to put towards the next project. And I know that we've had some previous discussions in depth on what we want to do next. I know that there has been discussion on box hangar or box hangars, kind of dependent upon how costs come in. And then I've also had discussions with Tyler and Sally about the electrical system, and knowing the history of it and the amount of repairs that have happened, that now may be a good time, even though the system today may be functional, this might be a good time to completely revamp it and put in LED reliable technology. And the reason behind that is when we go forward with the hangar project, that is going to significantly deplete the federal funding that has been allocated to the city. And so even though the electrical system functions today, if it goes out in 2 years and it's completely inoperable, MoDOT will not be available for an emergency grant or for any sort of, we essentially can't go to them if we go forward with the hangar project and then the electrical system shoots to crap in a couple of years saying we need money for the electrical system, because they'll say we should have thought of that before we gone through with a revenue generating project. So I'm more or less just trying to lay everything out as things to consider in the future through previous experiences with other airports across the state. I just don't want you folks to be put in a bind in the future. And I know I'm predicting something that may not happen, but I do want us to be covered in the event something does happen. So those are the two options that I've been made aware of. But if there's any other projects that we feel like may be necessary or that I haven't been made aware of, so feel free to lay them out and we can put together a cost estimate. So that was my long-winded synopsis.
Thank you, Ian.
So what's on the screen right now is our previous CIP. So obviously it's not been updated. We haven't approved one this year. So it still shows our most recent completed 6-unit T hangar there at the top for 2023. And so like I said, this is what was approved previously. And so tonight, with Ian's guidance, hopefully we're just determining what the next project needs to be and adjusting the CIP as necessary so we can get it filed with the state. Because in order to draw down funding for whether we're doing the lighting system or we're doing box hangers or whatever that is, it has to be on our CIP.
And Ian, I've spoken with several members of the board, and we all acknowledge that, yeah, we really need lights, but we have such a demand for enclosed hangars. We have a demand for any hangar, really, but I've spoken with several people who would really like an enclosed hangar, and I mean, I think we all can agree that, yeah, we need lights, but we also acknowledge that we need hangers as well. And the price has gone up, so that kind of took us from being able to put a 6T hanger up to down to maybe a 2-unit hanger.
Correct. The most frustrating part about my job has been looking at the T-hanger construction market using federal funds over the last 5 years. And the cost for, we've gone from estimating from about $100 to $110 a square foot up to now $150 a square foot. So we're looking at a would that be a 33% cost increase just over 3 or 4 years? And I keep hoping and praying that it slows down. And for some reason, my prayers aren't being answered. And I can't figure out, what's going on here with the markets. And part of the reason I've been informed is there are so many opportunities out there for contractors to go to work that they don't necessarily see these types of projects as needing it. And so they can kind of just throw a bit at the wall and, hey, if it comes in and we get it, great, we'll go to work, but that doesn't benefit us and it doesn't benefit you folks. And so that's what's been the most frustrating part with these T-hanger projects is the material market's gone up and the availability of similar types of projects doesn't really drive the need for contractors to really sharpen their pencils and give us a bid. And I'm being very candid with you folks, just from my experiences that I've had here the last couple of years. I'm battling up in Moberly, up in northern Missouri. We've got a 10-unit T-hanger that's just astronomically priced that we just can't make heads or tails of. And we're struggling to get even interest in the job to begin with. So I just want to share with you kind of what I'm going through so you folks can make the most informed decision that you can.
And it's also kind of come down the pipeline that we might lose the additional federal funding if we don't jump on the, like say we don't jump on the hangers now, we may go back to our original BIL funding and lose the rest of it, correct?
Jumping down to what would be the NPE funding.
NPE, correct, yes.
The critical part of that is having 10 base aircraft. And I don't know what you folks are at now. And I don't know, Tyler, if you have that number off the top of your head, but if we're flirting around the 9 or the 10 or the 11 number of base aircraft, then I think the priority for a box hanger significantly increased. Now, we just got the new 6 in, which is good, but I know that we also had to shutter a couple of the older ones. So I don't know if that kind of cancels out any sort of addition, but 10 is the magic number for base aircraft. And if we're flirting with that number, then that should put some sort of higher priority or emphasis on getting another hanger out there to try to increase that number.
I agree, and I believe we're right at 11, which, like you said, is a very flirtatious number, and we want to do a little better than that. And I want to add that we don't have to do anything this year, but if we do, we're basically losing out on a significant funding opportunity. And also the numbers you gave us were conservative numbers, we hope, but maybe not.
Doing a project this year, there's a couple benefits. Well, one of the main benefits is there is money that could be lost. We have to bank up these funds to put towards a project, but you're only allowed to bank up 4 years worth of funds. And I did some rough napkin math here yesterday or the day before, I can't remember. And I think if we don't have I think we're at the point here where we need to go forward with something or we're going to have to turn back funds from the federal government, which it's not the end of the world. That means we're not spending anything, but also that means that's something we can't put towards a capital improvement project. Additionally, if we do go forward with the project this year, it is set up to where a majority of the funds will be allocated to the city at a 5% match instead of the traditional 10%. And so, if you're looking at let's just ballpark say that, $1 million project, whichever one it is, traditionally that would be a $100,000 match. Well, with this, we're going to get closer down to a $50,000 or a $60,000 match. Some of the money has different percentages tied to it, but for the most part, it's going to be mostly 5%. So that's a real benefit to doing a project this year. Next year, federal guidance flops back to our 90%, 10% split. So that, in essence, doubles the local match, which kind of increases the priority of getting something done this fiscal year, or at least starting in on something this fiscal year.
Well, the consensus I've gathered, Ian, is we do agree that the hangars have been a very big priority. And the lighting thing, I spoke to you a little bit, and I'll have to speak with Sally as well about if we do have an issue there. I noticed like the constant current regulator is budgeted at about $18,000 and some other components. So I'll have to speak with her on what budget money we would have available if we do need to make an emergency repair out of our budget. But I would also like to look into private funding if we absolutely have to. But I do see a significant need to do hangars next, and I can call for a motion for the board to do that if which we've got to get you an answer anyway. So.
Sure. And we're
Anything
prepared to support. We're prepared to support you folks in either way, whether we go electrical or whether we go the hangar. We still have the same architect that did the 6-unit T hangar. They have told me that they're on board to help with whatever box hangar we want to put together. And if we need to look at some options as like a conceptual type of phase to kind of get group consensus, they're more than willing to help out with that as well. For example, if we want to go 35 by 35 or 40 by 40, or you know what I mean, as we increase different sizes. So the Lochner team is prepared to help you folks with whichever path you choose.
And it doesn't seem to be like on our CIP that we have to break it down into that level of detail as to if it's a 42 by 42 or 50 by 50 at this time, right? We just say hangars right now, we're gonna shoot for 2, maybe. I just don't see us having the funding for 3 right now.
Yeah, really, we're looking at a 1 or a 2, and you're correct that for CIP purposes, MoDOT just wants a number. They just need a number to plan around. And as far as the little nuances, ins and outs, they don't really care about that at this time.
Do I have a motion to approve our next CIP project to be a 2-unit hangar?
I'll make that motion.
John makes the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Steve makes a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Everyone's in favor. Okay, Ian. So our recommendation to the Board of Aldermen, City Council, will be to do hangars next, a 2-unit hangar. And then,
That sounds good. I will be on standby until I hear from Sally and get city consensus that they agree. And if that's the case, we'll be in touch with you folks and we'll go from there. And it'll be similar to the T hangar type of project if we do end up going forward, where we'll present to you kind of the floor plan, get airport board comments, so long as they're reasonable and whatnot. But same type of process that we did with the T hangar. I know that there were some comments that we had that we were able to incorporate. So look for the same type of process on a box hangar project that we just did for this T hangar.
okay.
Ian, if
Sally's got a question real quick.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Ian, I'm hoping you can hear me okay.
If you could move the phone a little bit closer, I hear you just very faint.
She's coming to us.
Is the microphone?
So my question, Ian, when we're talking about this funding availability, are we talking about federal budget year that begins October 1? What's the fiscal year for this?
October 1 of 2025 through September of 2026. And what that means is we just need to have this thing designed and bid during this fiscal year of October 1 through September 30th of next year. And then that will secure the funds at what will most likely be a 95% split, with a couple of it coming in at 90.
Okay,
So we're in that window right now.
okay. I may have some follow-up questions for you before this goes before
Sure.
the Board of Aldermen, just so that we can make sure we're looking at the right timing of funding. Okay,
And Sally, what I can do is I can sit down and kind of show, basically break down, okay, there's different fiscal years that make up the bank of funds, and those come in at different percentages. I'll break that down so that you have that clearly and you can share that to your Board of Aldermen or whoever, so that they can understand that there's the different percentages and that it's just not a straight 95-5.
okay.
That should be, I think that'll be helpful.
Yes, that would be very helpful. Thank you.
Okay, I will put that on my list.
And then I would say, Ian, for your benefit, do we need to also come up with another project on down the road to get us within that 10-year plan?
I think that would be a good idea, kind of see where you folks have other needs. And if for right now, remind me again, Tyler, when you meet, is it every 3 months?
It's kind of PRN, just whenever. Yeah.
Okay. These are due, oh gosh, they haven't sent out the for sure due date, but they're due around Thanksgiving time. And if you can come up with a general idea, we can throw it at the wall, put it on paper and turn it in. It just shows that there's a need for continued development at the airport. You're not locked into any sort of future projects because every year we look at it and adjust. So if you could just give me a list of 2 or 3 things that you folks would like to see, I'll put a rough cost estimate together and we'll turn that into MoDOT and we can check that box and there won't be any issues because we'll continually look at that every year around this time.
Okay. And we might even be able to come up with something before this meeting concludes. I know you're needing to get going, though.
I apologize. I did not, when I originally agreed to this, I forgot that I had to come down to South Texas. So I wish I could be there in person or at least virtually so y'all could see me. But I appreciate you letting me share my insight. I look forward to working with you all on whatever project we're doing next.
Appreciate you, Ian.
Thanks, Tyler. I will talk to you later.
Have a safe flight.
Thanks. Take care. Bye.
So just as a quick, if I may, I pulled up the city's most recent 6-month financials. And so this is gonna show you here where I have the cursor. I'm hoping you all can see that. 167,000, that's what you all have in the airport fund as of June 30th. Okay? And keep in mind, we have been pulling from that more than what we've been adding to in recent years, so. But just so that you all know where we're at, okay?
And I had mentioned that, like she just said, we do have a bleeding budget, and so this hangar is a revenue-generating hangar, whereas if we put lights in, maybe 15 years down the road, they're still good. Maybe they need some attention by then, I don't know, but the lights aren't going to benefit our account any, our budget any, whereas the hangars will. And so hopefully, whether we have to pull from that account, whether we have to do a fundraiser, if we do need lights, fuel, something like that. Does anybody have any remarks as far as what you think a second priority would be after the hangars for Ian's benefit? I mean, I'm gonna recommend the lights, but I want your input also, so it's not just me doing all the talking.
I would like to see the lights, make sure that we don't get caught, with a problem with our lighting systems.
And I think by 2031, we probably need to get the runway repaved.
I agree. After I think you're right. Do the hangars, the lights, the pavement. Thanks. Do I have a motion to add the lighting and the ceiling of the pavement? How do we want to word that on the pavement? We want to do more than a crack seal this time. They're probably going to want to resurface it.
Remill it all.
Yeah, so, and like Ian said, we can address this next year as well and reword it as needed, but do I have a motion to recommend that as second and third priorities on our CIP, we do the lights next and then a resurfacing project?
I'll make a motion.
Steve makes the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Jim, second. All in favor? Aye. Anything else on the CIP that you'd like to, okay.
So that's to amend the plan for 2031.
And those years may adjust some, and Ian, like I said, in my conversations with Ian in getting those funding and stuff, because obviously the years are going to adjust anyway, we won't be doing this next 2-unit hangar for 2025. So they're all gonna adjust some.
Okay, moving to the next item, the fuel price. Currently, we're at $5.50 a gallon. I meant to pull up the current fuel prices in the area. Does anybody know what it is? Has anybody had to fuel up? I can pull it up really quick. We want to stay competitive and keep fuel moving, but also we have set our price to allow for some budgeting concerns.
And I can't remember if I got that back to you or not. That is staff's concern if we start dropping the price. You know, we've been pricing it kind of as we have historically. I think the dollar above what we pay for it. And we set our budget based on that. So if we start dropping that price, I understand what you're saying about we want to keep fuel moving, but that kind of starts impacting the budget too. And so,
So looking around the area, Cuba's $4.75, Sullivan $4.85, Potosi $4.60, Farmington $4.90, Fredericktown $4.70, who's this, Piedmont $4.85. So I believe in the past, before we recommended we try to make at least $1 a gallon, we were only making a quarter a gallon, and we were moving quite a bit of fuel then. But now, I don't know how Brent's fuel reports are turning up, but seems like the fuel sales have dropped off significantly. I'm seeing down south an average of $4.50 a gallon. I don't think we need to try to beat anybody, but I think we need to make it worth considering to adjust it down a little bit.
And do we know the volume that we actually sell?
I don't know that off the top of my head.
I do know it's moving. I couldn't tell you what rate. Last we checked, it was 1,000 gallons, so that was, 3 weeks ago? Brent's out on vacation, so apologies, I didn't get by there to look at it today. So there's a lot going on right now. So Brent did say that, he said in the past, what he's always done is you buy it at this price and you stick to selling it at this price, and that's kind of how he's had it. So, but obviously, if it's not competitive, then you're not moving the product, right, and you're not making any funds. So,
Do we have any idea how old the gas is out there now?
Do you know when we got the last load of fuel?
I want to say, is that 6 months ago?
I can't
Okay.
tell you.
Sorry, I don't have that off the top of my head.
So we're gonna be close to a degradation in the fuel glut. What we need to, or I'll summarize some of the comments I've been hearing. You've got people that have the capacity to fly a very long way. So for them, if they want to take off and it's going to save them $100 to fill up a 100-gallon fuel tank in their plane, they're just going to stop somewhere else. They would rather buy fuel off of us, but even some of the local pilots, if we're flying somewhere else and it's cheaper there, it's not a huge it is an inconvenience, but when you've got that big of a capacity, they're just tanking up somewhere else. And so we're missing out on pretty big fuel sales with airplanes with larger capacity fuel tanks. So lowering it a quarter or 50 cents a gallon to sell more fuel at the end of the day is probably going to keep our fuel moving better, keep our quality of fuel up. And so that was my reasoning behind suggesting that we look at that fuel price. Is any?
Yeah, because I don't want to get in the situation that we did a few years ago, and we couldn't sell the fuel because it
Yeah,
had sit there too long.
we wanted to not giving it away, but selling it at a bulk discount.
Guys, we need you to talk into your mics. Make sure they're on and talking to your mics, because otherwise folks who are watching can't hear you.
I said, I don't want to get in the situation that we did a few years ago where we had to basically almost give it away. So if you have 1,000 gallons there and you're paying $4.50 for it, and you're trying to make $1 to sell it at $5.50, and you lose $4.50 because you have to sell it at a
Yeah, you guys don't
Discount
have to
price.
convince me. You guys make a recommendation. I mean,
okay. I mean,
I'm sorry, I don't mean to make it sound like I'm arguing with you,
No.
but
No,
I'm just telling
yeah.
you what staff's typically done, and
right.
in keeping with, you know, that process, so.
One more question, does anybody have any idea roughly what's left in the tank out there?
So there's a
1,000
gauge
gallons.
on the
Oh,
tank.
it's about 1,000 gallons in it, okay.
Just looking at the prices around the region, I would recommend that we lower the price to $5 a gallon. No, if we make any adjustments, unless somebody's been trained up on our fuel system, I would have to have the, I forget their name, OPW, remote in to adjust our fuel prices. But $5 a gallon would make us once again competitive. Honestly, I don't benefit from, it could be $10 a gallon or 50 cents a gallon because I don't run airplane gas in my airplane. It doesn't run as well on it, but I just see the concern and I really don't want to see us get stuck with a load of fuel that degrades on us either.
Well, I'll add to it, if you're gonna drop it to 5, I'd make it like 4.95 gallons, so it has a 4 in front of it. It's not important, but,
Just a marketing.
yeah.
Do I have a motion to adjust the fuel price to $4.95 a gallon? In
I'll
an
make a
effort to,
motion.
do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, Steve, you want to give us an update on some of the projects going on?
Sure thing. So, the gate opener, well, basically, if any of you gentlemen have been out there lately, we've been trenching. We've set a new pole for a light out alongside the pilot's lounge to mount the cameras on after having Rommel come out and tell us what the best route was for camera placement and wiring. But we had to trench and run conduit, and we've been short manned, and it just took some time. So we are closing in on having it trenched. The power that we thought we had at the gate was not working. It was there at one time, and it was just, when we checked it out, it didn't function. So we're running all new conduit and wire. D&K Fencing had the lowest bid, so they'll be jumping on it as soon as we can get that power over there. So they literally, I wanted to tell you today that, hey, we have it done and we're throwing the conduit in the ground, and they got pulled off the project today for a water leak, so.
What did that bid come in at?
They were 40, I want to say 46.50.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think the next highest bid was 49.50
Okay.
or somewhere. It wasn't a huge difference, but, you know.
That's the elbow style gate opener, I
Yes.
believe? Okay,
And I think they'll do a nice job, and we'll, yeah, tighten it up, so.
thank you. Did you have any more updates?
No, Rommel, he'll be out there to work on the camera system as soon as we get it powered up and stuff. So we want to plug those on and get that set up so the police department can monitor those as well, so.
I wanted to thank you guys for the awesome job you've been doing mowing out there. It looks great. The deer are out there, but you can see them now. So that really mitigates the hazard, so we appreciate that. I did get a report, well, again, I'm never up at the fuel pump, so the static wire, the spool, I've fixed it before, and I think there's another alligator clip in the pilot lounge somewhere, but I think somebody's let go of it and popped that alligator clip off. So, you know, when you fly with precipitation, your aircraft generates static, you go to fuel up and you've got a spark, that's a possible liability for us. So I think it can be repaired, but it might be something that if you guys beat me to it, if you want to look at that. Yeah, the static roll.
Have the mechanic jump on it.
Thank you.
And striping.
Thank you for the striping project. It looks fantastic.
You know, I think it turned out really great. I'm going to try to, well, I don't know that I'll be here by the time it needs it again, but if I am, I'll try to push the street department to kind of take that on in pieces, maybe. You know, I mean, it's a lot, but after seeing the glass beads and you know, what that all looked like, we could probably pull that off in chunks, you know. It's just one of those things where you can't take the street department off of all their other tasks to, you know, work on a lengthy project, so, but we could take small bites, so.
Okay, let's move on to other business. So there was some discussion brought up recently about the Schwartzinger. The last I heard, Mr. Patterson, Attorney Patterson for the Schwartz family, had said that the family didn't have any desire to have the hangar. And so our attorney, Mr. Weber, had emailed Mr. Patterson and just asked if there was any ties to probate court with that hangar. And that was the last I heard of it. Have you heard any updates to?
So I spoke with James, the city attorney, last night. And in the most recent conversation, we're back where we were in the beginning, where heirs to the Schwartz estate are saying that they think they have a claim to it, and so they're not willing to sign it over. So, and that's straight from Mr. Patterson.
Okay.
So we're back where we were 3 years ago when this came up.
Is there anything the city can do to move that along, call it, I don't know how to word, to do something, because otherwise we're going to be stuck with
Right.
a building we can't do anything with.
Right. I mean, I'm open to suggestions. Back 3 years ago, the request that was made through Mr. Patterson was the city willing to pay for it? Again, do you know what I mean? So far, no. And it's, do you know what I mean? The ownership is in question. Neither party has documents proving one way or the other, so we're.
I have an idea, and I'll run it by you, just an idea that if we have somebody that, say a mechanic that has interest in the hangar, can we find out what it would take for that mechanic to go to the Schwartz family and pay them?
Potentially. I
Okay.
mean,
Because that's really the only thing I'm
Yeah.
thinking right now.
Gotcha.
So.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you for following up with that. Let's see. We've got some empty hangars 8, 9, and 11,
Right.
that they're the old hangars, but I believe those are the ones that can be filled. And I've heard that there's some interest even in old hangars. Is there any reason that those haven't been filled, or are people not filling their forms out correctly?
So to my knowledge, we've had 1 or 2 pilots come and look at them and then decide they didn't want to lease them.
Okay.
The mechanic, and so this kind of ties back to that Schwartz hangar conversation, but the mechanic who expressed potentially some interest in that hangar was interested in potentially renting 2 hangars in lieu of, just so that he could get in and get started. And so he's looking at being here December, January-ish. And so that's, like I said, is what he saw as a potential workable option for the short term for him. And that way he would have space right away and wouldn't be waiting. So there's that interest. Otherwise, the few, I know we've not had a huge number of folks coming,
Okay.
but I know there's been 1 or 2 who have gone, and then when Tammy met them out there on site and they looked at them, they decided they didn't want to lease them.
And that's why the shade port idea would have been great to save money. In the end, we may not have saved any money, but
Right.
I've had a significant amount of requests for enclosed hangars that just come to me, and I'm like, no, I'm sorry, they're full.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's just a shame that the cost has went up that significantly. Okay. Does anybody have anything else they'd like to add to the comments or the other business? Is there anyone from the public that would like to make any comments this evening? I see no one. Anything else, guys? Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I make a motion.
Do I have a second?
Second it.
All in favor?